It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical Mains and Dutch. It's 2020, but we're still the same. In the danger zone, it's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Old.
You were old in 2019, so that really hasn't changed.
Yeah, 1990 was 30 years ago. That shit blows my mind.
Yeah, 1990, long time ago. Breaking news.
I don't think I'm happy about this.
Do you remember when 20 years ago, everyone thought computers were going to stop working? That was cool.
Still probably the stupidest pop culture phenomenon of my lifetime. And bear in mind, we now live in an age where being a YouTuber is a way to become a millionaire. But I still think the Millennium Bug was more stupid.
Just so you know, Ryan's Toys, one for the kids there, and made him $26 million directly from YouTube last year.
It's a kid playing with toys. I don't understand this. It's a kid playing with toys, and kids watch this kid playing with toys when they could play with their own toys.
Yep.
Seriously, these people boil my piss.
Yep. And two of them live in your house.
Yeah. I've had a small fortune spent on toys, and what do? They sit on their tablets, which, yes, I have become that. I'm not just going to give my kids tablets and not expect them to play. No, I give them tablets, and they sit there and watch other kids playing with. In some cases, not even kids, adults playing with toys.
Yeah, it's a weird world, Neil. It wasn't one that we were in 1990. Let's just put it like that.
I wanted to play with toys. I didn't want to watch you play with yours.
To be honest, I needed a football and a wall, and that was it. But there we go. While these old men shout at clouds, let's move on. This week, it's Wildcard weekend. We didn't do week 17 because we'd want to. No fancy involved at all this week, actually. We're going to plug into the mains. We're going to look at coaches, who's been fired, who's on the brink. One of them, hilariously on the brink. Almost like, Wile E. Coyote on the brink. And then someone who's been hired, an adult, some would say. And then we're going to look at the wildcard games. We're going to discuss how each team could win. We're going to look at the spread and see who we're going to pick. And then also the over-under, see if we're going to see any games with loads of points. But let's start, Neil. Plugging into the mains to discuss coaches. So Black Monday, been and gone. And not really that much movement, Neil, if we're brutally honest.
Bit boring.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a load of families who've still got jobs who don't think that way, but there you go. Coaches fired. We'll start first. Cleveland Browns with Freddie Kitchens. For me, it had to happen. Do you agree?
Yes. The Cleveland, it's what's his name? Jimmy Haslam has come out today and said regarding because obviously they cleaned house, they got rid of John Dorsey as well. They have said that this time they need to see the process through to the end. This is a key phrase because this is a team that in the last 7 years, when it comes to the process, has done things that have led them one way and they've just decided to do something else. This is a team that commissioned a report to identify what quarterback to draft. It told them Teddy Bridgewater, but a homeless man told them to take Johnny Manziel. Their process for hiring a head coach last year told them it was going to hire Kevin Stefanski, but they hired Freddie Kitchens anyway. To finish the process, here's what you need to do, Mr. Haslam. Leave the grown-ups to run the business, because you can't. You're, at best, an unconvicted felon, and at worst, an absolute idiot. You're one of the main reasons why people should not be allowed to buy these teams. This is an absolute, this is a money-making, a golden goose in the world of sports business. But some people shouldn't be allowed anywhere near it. You are one of them.
This is the Washington concept of, regardless of how bad Daniel Snyder is, and believe me, he's bad. The franchise is now worth more than it was when he took over, considerably worth more than it took over, and there's no real reason to get rid of him. There's no incentive. There's no tremendous incentive to be good, and that's a concern because, in theory, being mediocre is not an option. You'd rather be really bad or really good. They're the only two options, I guess. I think Freddie Kitchens had to go. He was
inept.
Well, yeah, but I think he was just over promoted based on a few things that made it seem make sense. One of them, unfortunately, being the link with the quarterback. However, all you seem to do is move him further away from the quarterback rather than closer to him. He was not Sean McVay in terms of constant communication and stuff like that, and he couldn't manage 52 people on a roster. It's not that happens a lot. It's not, something you need to worry yourself about. But what I would say is, now the nerds are back in charge, quote unquote. You've got to allow them to do what they're going to do. So if they're going to do something, you've got to let them do it in terms of coaching and hiring and whatever, and we'll see where we go. I mean, unless everybody, and let's be fair, unless everybody was completely wrong, this is a talented roster, so they just need to be managed correctly.
It is a talented roster, but you can already see where they probably... I harken back to... It's
a talented John Dorsey roster, isn't it? It's talented, yeah. But they're all head cases who could explode at any moment.
Yeah, it was I want 10 really good players in my 53-man roster, as opposed to I can get by with 3 stars as long as I have depth. As I say, the popular narrative, of course, is that, hashtag Sashi died for this. He accumulated this treasure trove of assets that John Dorsey pissed away by trading for inefficient slot receivers and giving them huge contracts. And sending first-round picks to wide receivers who had outstayed their welcome and look like they may have outstayed it already. It's a classic John Dorsey move. The question that I will raise is, and this whoever comes into Cleveland, because you're going to have to assume, I would assume it's going to be an offensive coach, and that they probably would like to do the Sean McVay model of let me run the offense and let someone else head coach the defense. I don't know who they'd get to do that, but the question I posed to you the other day is, there are no Baker Mayfield apologists or truthers left in this organisation.
Yeah.
So, are we 12 months away from Baker Mayfield being the next Mitchell Trubisky? And if that's the case, in most situations like this, it would be, we want our franchise quarterback's input on the head coach. I'm not saying that's a great idea, because it never usually seems to work. It's just like, I like this guy. Why? It's either he's my mate, or I know what he wants. Better the devil you know, something like that. And his mate, I don't really want your mate around here. I want someone to push you. But if they bring in someone, it's going to be... Is it a case of... It's going back to Mitchell Trubisky. They bring in a head coach because we think you can fix our quarterback. Or is it a case of, no, I'll come in and play with your quarterback, but then in a year I'm going to make some noises suggesting that I'd actually like my own.
I'd be stunned if the head coach, when he's interviewed, doesn't say he can quote-unquote fix Baker Mayfield. But what I also wouldn't be stunned about if he said was, I can fix Baker Mayfield if Baker Mayfield's willing to be fixed. If he's not willing to be fixed, then we need to have a conversation in 16 games' time. And I don't see that necessarily being an issue. Do not be surprised in any way if a competent backup appears on this roster. So let's play a game. Kevin Stefanski becomes the head coach. Baker Mayfield is the starter. Alex Smith is fit enough to be the backup in Washington. Therefore, Case Keenum becomes the backup in Cleveland.
Okay.
Only because, do you see what I mean? That they're the kinds of things that need you. If you're Baker Mayfield and you see that, you go, oh. Like at the moment, like in Philadelphia, like, Philadelphia's gone down, what we describe as the Peyton Manning model of why does your backup never get into practice, coach? Because we don't practice effed. If you bring in Case Keenum and another, then you're like, I think I'm going to bench him sometime this year.
I think it's one thing it's been used against teams like the Jets, the Jaguars, and for a long time for the Cincinnati Bengals. You've brought in a competent backup, but you haven't brought in anyone to put a fire up your quarterback's arse. So Mark Sanchez was unopposed. Blake Bortles was unopposed. Andy Dalton's been unopposed. So they've, to quote Mickey, they got civilised. They knew that unless they got injured, they weren't losing their job. So someone like a Case Keenum is a case of, you probably are more talented than him, but if I ask him to do something, he'll do it. Will you?
Absolutely.
And, I see that's what they do. I mean, I have no real handle on who they're going to get.
No, I don't either, because and especially given and I don't mean this in a flippant way. It's not quote unquote football guys in charge. So when it's football guys in charge, they'll just pick football guys. But a guy who's going to look at a multitude of different things will look at a multitude of different things, and therefore may hire someone that we don't think they would hire.
And plus, usually, as I say, there's 5 or 6 coaches who go, and you can usually bank on 2 or 3 of them getting another job soon. With so few coaches gone, and one of them who was fired in season has already been hired, this is going to have to be a totally new, possibly left field hire.
Yeah. Next firing, Pat Shermer. Luckily now, though, the Giants have got all the computer guys in charge, so it shouldn't. 4
computer folk.
It shouldn't be an issue. I want to.
That's my Radiohead tribute band name, by the way.
Yeah, excellent. I don't really want to spend much time on the New York Giants.
Who does?
I just want to be clear. This is a storied franchise. Mm-hmm. This team has won multiple Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Their owner and their general manager seem to be concerned by technology. It is 2020.
Yeah.
Now I'm in a glass houses throw stone situation when it comes to ownership. Not completely comfortable with that. But I'm pretty sure Dan Snyder knows what an Apple TV is. Do you know what I mean? Come on, guys. 4 computer folk? What? They should never have hired Pat Sherman in the first place. No. He was a failed coach, badly failed in Cleveland. Now, okay, you could make he was in Cleveland, what you mean? But you kind of said you need to fix Eli Manning when he was completely and utterly broken. You didn't give him any talent whatsoever. You then gave him Manning and Daniel Jones, and you've given him a running back, which is great. But now you're 2 years into the 5 years that he's going to be good.
I think as well, he was 9-23 as Cleveland coach.
Yeah.
He was 9-23 as Giants coach. There's a pattern. Not a very good head coach. Plus, as I say, could you imagine if he was your head coach and you did something egregiously stupid on the field and you walked off the field? Here's how he would greet you. I'm very disappointed in you. It's that, it's, no, I don't need my dad. I don't need rational dad. I need someone to bollock me. He literally looks like if he tried shouting at you, you'd laugh in his face. The problem as well with the Giants is Dave Gettleman, I think he thinks he's funny. And if you know me, being the pompous prat that I am, nothing boils my piss more other than YouTubers is people who think they're funny who are not.
Yeah.
He did this thing 2 years ago with that, the computer geek thing. Yeah, you were wrong 2 years ago. The last 2 years have proved you're wrong. But if you come out now and say, oh, well, we've hired 4 computer folk. No, we don't think you've developed or become self-aware. We think you have. But most of us think you're still an arsehole who thought, I know, I've got 3 first-round picks here. I'll reach a quarterback. Daniel Jones has been better than expected. I'm not denying that. I'll get a run-stuffing defensive tackle and a cornerback who literally wouldn't look out of place in the Philadelphia Eagles. You're focused on the wrong areas aside from... actually, you think... You take your quarterback, you take cornerbacks. Yeah, that's fine, but you still prize hog mollies. It's 2020. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers can stop the run. Let's look how good their defense is, shall we? You focus on the wrong areas and you traded prize assets for it. And then you come out and don't understand the compensatory pick formula by saying about Leonard Williams. oh, we've got so much cap space, but if we don't sign him, we'll get a comp pick. No, you won't. That's not how it works. And as a general manager, I'm not saying you have to be Howie Roseman or Bill Belichick or Ozzie Newsome, but you should know how the compensatory pick formula works. And the problem I have is, while he's there, any head coach is going to come in and it's going to be, I have to trust that I can run my system with players this Pratt is going to get me. And, I don't think I can.
No. On the brink, Neil, in his 7th meeting since Sunday, it's Mr. Jason Garrett. The funny thing about Jason Garrett is, and I may be wrong on this, I'm under the impression that he doesn't need to be fired, as he's in the final year of his contract, and his contract may just run out.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually now don't think that he will be fired. He just won't have his contract renewed.
Well, apparently the rumour today is that Ed Werder, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Werder, I don't know. Werner. Okay, yeah. There's a D in there, but who am I to criticise? He's saying that he would not be stunned if Garrett remained with the Cowboys in some capacity.
In what capacity?
Ball boy, events manager, I don't know. But the message you are sending out to, not your fan base, because, again, we talk about this, I think I could run the Dallas Cowboys for a month and still turn a profit. The message you're sending to your team is mediocrity is our standard and we'll stick with it. Because by every conceivable measure, there is no reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are preparing for a wildcard game this weekend and the Dallas Cowboys are not. It comes down to this. What we always say, the NFL is designed for 32 teams to go 8-8. But what you do on the margins can tip you one way or the other. If you are so bad that you go this way, or you are so good that you go that way, but if you are so insignificant that your very presence means you achieve what the league wants you to do, you are not good enough. But if you like the guy so much, now from what I'm hearing and what I see and what I read, I'm sure Jason Garrett is a lovely fella. And this is, they're trying to give him as much time as possible to say goodbye to as many people as possible. Yeah, I thought this was a business, and while relationships count, Jerry, you haven't done anything. You won one Super Bowl since Jimmy Johnson left, and that was with Johnson's team. So you're in the Hall of Fame, but Jimmy Johnson isn't. So let's just focus on if you keep Jason Garrett in the building. I mean, I don't think this is going to be a Matt Busby, Sir Alex Ferguson situation, is it? I don't think the first time they go 24-0 down, they're not going to be panning to Jason Garrett in the crowd, are they? But no. By keeping him around, it is like a dog going back to its own vomit. I don't understand.
I look at it and think, how much do you want to win? Do you want to win enough to get out the way? And be prepared to be told, no, that's wrong, Jerry. Because at the end of the day, for me, the reason that they are 8-8 is because no one stands up to anybody else in the office. Everyone smiles and says yes and moves on, and it's not confrontational. It's not aggressive, it's not forward thinking, it's safe, it's grey, it's bland. This team and franchise should be the biggest in the NFL, and in theory, in terms of some numbers, it should be. It's Manchester United, but you know what? It's being run like Manchester United. And in the terms of, no one's like, no, this is wrong. No, we need to do something different. Jerry, actually, we could is a decent to above average personnel man with his team in charge. So if everyone agrees that's the case, then why did he finish 8-8? Well, it must be coaching. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's pure process of elimination. It's not bad luck. Like, you can't win games that you need to win. You haven't won games you've needed to win since 1995, and you don't think anything's wrong. Well, I can't help you.
No.
Like, I can't put you in a position to try and win because you won't help yourself. And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm made up. So you
carry
on. You carry on doing what you're doing, and the other teams in that division will keep on beating you in games he should never beat you in.
Yeah. Like, hashtag Jason must stay.
Exactly. Final one, Neil. Is it more of a rumour mill than anything else, which is Mike Zimmer? The Vikings. Big Kevin Stefanski, we've talked about him previously. I think they like him. I think they don't like what Mike Zimmer does to him. Doesn't let him do his job. And the big question is, what do the Vikings want and what are the Vikings good at? Because what the Vikings want in terms of coaching right now with Mike Zimmer is actually not what they're good at.
If I'm the Vikings, regardless of the result, assuming they lose on Sunday, which, without spoiling the rest of the show, I think they're going to.
Yeah.
At the end of that game, I ring up Jerry Jones and I say, late round pick or third round pick, and you can take him. Or you're on the risk of losing Kevin Stefanski because you can't block Stefanski if teams want to interview him.
No.
Because it'll be a head coaching job. Now, do you want to do, you're on the risk of their offense this year was very good. Once it worked out, no, you can't just have your quarterback throw the ball 10 times. That's silly. But they achieved a balance of run and pass, and their play action, they looked bloody dangerous. But let's say they were held back by, and we have criticised Matt Patricia for this as well. They were poor defensively, and that's where your head coach is supposed to be very good. Well, your defense was trash.
But they have consistently been bad in top situations as a defense, and as you said, that's the job of the coach. So I don't know. I think I'm with you. Like, teams have windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this window is shutting tremendously quickly for the Vikings. So you either do something, or you finish 10-6 next year and get knocked out in the playoffs again.
And don't forget, I say Zimmer's got one year left in his contract. Cousins has got 1 year left on his contract. So it's a question of, well, do we want to do a total rebuild with a quarterback who we're still not convinced of in the crunch and a new head coach? Or do you want to get on board and start it now?
Yeah, final one, Neil. There's been a hire. It's in Washington. It's Ron Rivera. I think, for me, it's simple adult conversation. Now there seems to be an adult in the room. Will it work? It hasn't worked with anyone else. We had Marty Schottenheimer and Mike Shanahan. Didn't work for them. So am I expecting it to work? No, not really. I'd like it to, obviously. But I like the idea of players, of coaches like Rivera and Jack Del Rio being in charge, as they seem like good human beings and adults. Yeah.
And plus, I think this, again, we talk about this. This seems to be that you've hired a CEO.
Yes.
Who will not be afraid to delegate. I mean, I say Jack Del Rio's been an NFL head coach. He's been an defensive coordinator for a long time. Still don't know what's happening with offense, although they may keep the boy O'Connell.
Yeah.
But it does look like Rivera may have come to a time in his career where, and everyone has great things to say about Ron Rivera. Again, lovely bloke by all accounts. If you watch the Panthers, All or Nothing, he seems to be a person that players want to play for. Yep. But I just wonder whether he wants to do the Bruce Arians thing of, I'm not here to run the defense, I'm not calling the offense, I'm here to oversee and leave it to other people and let them do their jobs. And this is where the Washington have fallen down, especially in the Bruce Allen era. There's no, as you say, there's no grown-ups. There's no culture, despite Bruce Allen thinking it was a damn good culture. Yeah, we weren't asking you about your yogurt, dickhead. We were asking about the culture in the locker room. And now, as I say, you get a chance, someone to come in that the players have there's a track record of players wanting to play for him. They won't take the piss. They won't go, won't try and go behind his back to, Dan Schneider or whoever the general manager is when he's appointed. And it's just a start of let's try and become normal. I'm not saying successful, because Washington are not going to go from dysfunctional to successful in one pre-season. But if you can go to normal, you can build from that.
There's nothing wrong with being normal.
No, there is.
Just start with that. Neil, that's enough head coaching hires. Let's get on to the Wildcard games. We are going to go through them in the order they will be watched. Late night UK time, and we're going to talk about how each team could win. We're going to look at the spread, pick a winner, and over under as well. First game, ESPN Classic. Looking forward to listening to Bugger and the guy's names escape me. John Tessitore gets really excited. Joe Tessitore gets really excited by life.
Nothing.
So Bills Texans, i.e. the stinker game, Saturday night. They definitely haven't worked this out for the UK, have they? So what we're going to do now is say, how do you think the Buffalo Bills will win the game?
Buffalo Bills will win the game by being able to run all over Houston. We know that Buffalo, they're not an explosive offense. They're not an incredibly productive offense. In terms of points and yards, they were actually in like the bottom third. But when it comes to running the ball, they had the 8th most rushing yards in the NFL last year. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, if you run the ball well, you shorten the game, and you make the other team has to throw the ball. Now, if you force Deshaun Watson to have to sit in the pocket and wait for his men to come free, he's going to open up and get sacked, which he's going to do an awful lot of. But plus as well, you then have to say to him, look, assuming you're not going to get sacked, you have to throw against the the 4th best passing defense in the NFL. So we'll have Tre'Davious White is going to shut down one side of the field.
Yeah.
Will Fuller, bless him, is his groin, is his hamstring going to work, whatnot? We don't know. I'll guess no. But you're going to force Deshaun Watson to make mistakes. So if you can control the time of possession, and you can force Deshaun Watson to make mistakes, that's how Buffalo can win.
See, I'm with you, Neil. I think you've got to be able to run the ball. I also think you've got to keep Josh Allen calm. What I mean by that is he seems like an emotional guy, right? He seems like someone who gets a bit ahead of himself, likes the passion, and I like that. But sometimes you just need to breathe, right? I don't know if you watched them play New England, but that first half, he was all over the place.
Yeah.
He was just, completely and utterly sporadic. I just think they need to...
He'd had a sherbet dib dab before the first quarter. Yeah, this is a bad idea.
His mum and dad had let him have the full selection box before tea, and a can of fizz. But yeah, so I think they just need to keep him calm. For the Texans, Neil, what do you think? You're saying there, you don't see Fuller playing. I think he has to play if they win.
We've seen the numbers back up how much of a difference Will Fuller makes to the Texans offense. Now, if Will Fuller's in the lineup or he's not, DeAndre Hopkins, his targets, his receptions, his yards are quite similar. But the Texans as a whole, and Deshaun Watson especially, when Will Fuller is out of the lineup, he averages nearly a whole yard less per attempt. Just think about that. I mean, just that 1 yard just makes a difference across the whole game. A game of, if you have 60 plays, we'll take 60 yards off that. I'm not saying that obviously we'll pass away, it's an oversimplification, but we have seen that once you lose that big play element, this may sound familiar, you lose that speed guy, your offense can become stymied. Yes, they can run the ball quite well. I mean, they finished 9th in rushing yards last year, but I refuse to believe in a playoff game they're going to put the ball in the belly of Carlos Hyde and say, you've got this. Not with Deshaun Watson. If they're going to win, they're going to have to conjure up big plays. Obviously, as well, they're going to have to keep Deshaun Watson upright and protected. The best thing that would be for Houston would be is if this game turns into a shootout, I'd back them more than I would Buffalo.
Yeah. It's 2.5 favoured for the Texans. Do they win?
No.
I look and think Buffalo are a better team. I think Vegas thinks that, given the spread. 3 is usually the score for the home team as normal, so they think that the Bills are better. I do too. I'm gonna take Buffalo to win the game.
And obviously 2019 is the season that nobody played anyone. But the AFC, I mean, obviously the NFC East is a trash pile. The AFC South wasn't great.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, it's got 2 playoff teams in it, but I think that says more about some of the other divisions. And the Texans, they had a chance that late in the season they could have secured a bye if things had gone their way. They demolished the Patriots, and what happened the next week? They cracked themselves against the Broncos. I don't see how you can trust this team in prime time. Now, obviously, Deshaun Watson gives you a puncher's chance, but we've seen it in the playoffs with Deshaun Watson. They come out flat, and then they rely on him to work miracles. But if you're going to do that in this game and say, okay, but you're only going to have 25 minutes of possession, you're going to open up to him, he's going to take risks, and he's going to get hurt, especially if he doesn't have his top weapon. I just think Buffalo are just one of those teams that, aside from against the Patriots, where I think someone may have told Josh Allen how big a game it was, and it just got a little bit too big for him. He started pressing. This is a team that has shown in situations this year that they don't get too overexcited. And the biggest game of their season, you say, was they went in on Thanksgiving and cleaned the Cowboys' clocks for them. Yeah. And I'm so impressed I managed to say that phrase correctly.
Me too. I'm very glad because I don't have to edit it.
Yeah, I just think they're level-headed, and that comes from the coach. And I just don't think they don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves too much, whereas you can see the Texans do.
Yeah, I just think they're a better team. Over under 43.5, Neil.
43.5. What's the spread? 2.5.
2.5.
Yep. Yeah. I'm going to say under.
I'm going to say like 23-17 Bills.
Yeah, I think it could be something a bit lower scoring, like 20-10. Which sounds, obviously you say it's a 2-score game, but
yeah, I think so. But I look at them and think they're better, so we'll find out. Next game, Neil, causing consternation across New England, across Wales, is Titans at Patriots night game. The night game in America, 8 p.m. Morning game for us. How did the Titans win the game, Neil?
They're more physical than the Patriots. We know what they're going to do. They're going to lean on Derrick Henry. They're going to feed it in the ball till he pukes. They're going to control the line, the time possession again. The Titans under Mike Vrabel have run the fewest plays, or at least have been in the top 3 in terms of fewest plays run in each of the last 3 seasons. Obviously, one of them wasn't with Vrabel. It's what they do. They don't want to play long games. Short games are a good game for the Titans. We've seen that Derrick Henry, if you keep feeding him in the third, 4th quarter, those runs become bigger. That's what they need to do on offense. Defense, what's the popular trope regarding Tom Brady? Doesn't like pressure.
Get pressure up the middle.
Yeah, well, that's what the Titans are going to have to do. They're not great defensively. You look at their numbers. Where are they? They were 21st in yards allowed, which isn't great. They were 24th in passing yards allowed, 12th in rushing yards allowed. They didn't have very many. They were 14th in sacks. They didn't blitz very often either. They blitzed on 24.8% of their defensive plays. That was the 21st most in the league. While the Patriots are misfiring on offense, you want Tom Brady holding the ball for a long time in the pocket. So you've got to get in his face, make it hard for him, because I don't think the defense is good enough on the back end, even against a beleaguered secondary, because Logan Ryan, former Patriot, Malcolm Butler, former Patriot cornerbacks, they ain't great. And if Julian Edelman is somewhat rested, which I know he isn't, but if he's somewhere approaching his best, he has shown he can have his way with more talented defenders than this. So the Titans basically need to just be the more physical team.
Absolutely. I think it's tough to argue, Neil, and you've got to. I don't like if he runs it 25 times to win the game, because you could run the 25 times, but you've got to put yourself in a position where you're able to run a lot. Where you're ahead, where you make them press. Do you know what I mean? Like, Make them force it. If because the Patriots, as you've said, are sputtering on offense. They don't want to have to force the situation. They don't want to be 14-0 down. That's not what they need in their lives.
No.
Because their offense, I don't know what it's designed for, but it definitely ain't designed for that.
No.
In terms of the Pats, Neil, I think they got to confuse Tannehill. I think it's a lot of misdirections. You know, they will have seen a lot of Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, not this version of Ryan Tannehill. It looks like a quarterback. They saw the other one who was in Miami. But they'll know tropes and traits that they would want on positions they will want him to put into that they know he's not comfortable with. They want to keep the game. For me, they want to, if they can, get 10-0 up early. Get the ball. They usually defer. I would try and keep the ball first. Score points. See what happens after that. That's kind of where we are with them. I think they want it to be in a situation where they're controlling what happens in the game. Because if they're not, as we said before, they're in trouble.
They basically want to say to the Titans and to Ryan Tannehill, no, you beat us. They want it to be that literally just after halftime, Derrick Henry is not in the equation because he's not going to catch passes. It's down to Tannehill. It's down to A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis. It's Ryan, you beat us. I mean, obviously, defensively, in the past, Corey Davis hasn't done too badly against Stephon Gilmore. Well, Corey Davis is crap. A.J. Brown, however, is a fully grown man, but we haven't seen what he can do against, the best cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's, as I say, if it's going to case of you're going to have to throw the ball 40, 50 times, Ryan, then I would back the Patriots in that scenario.
Yeah.
But if Derrick Henry is still a factor, third quarter going into the fourth, this game will be a lot closer than the Patriots would want it to be.
Absolutely. Patriots are 5-point favourites when I looked before, which is pretty big numbers, right? Do they win?
Yes, I think they do. But 5 points is a lot. I can see probably them beating that. But I think it'll be physical, and I think it'll take its toll. If not next week, then the week after. But I still think the Patriots will win. It's the postseason, and last time I checked, Tom Brady was still a quarterback.
I'm not getting involved in this team is dead situation. I'd rather say I totally miss them being dead. Pass me by that. Like, I didn't think it had happened, and it happened, rather than being the guy who says it happens and then it happens, because we've all been there for the past, what feels like decade, and we've been wrong every single time. So yeah. I'm okay to take the Pats here, even though I think you can put forward a massive conversation that the best team on the field is the Titans. But that doesn't mean they're going to win. Over under is 44, Neil.
I'm going to take the over, but probably not a long way over.
Yeah, I think like 27-20.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go 27-20 Pats. And it could be a late score. It might be, it might be 20-all. It might be tight. But let's have it so that one score is more than a 5.
I mean, the one thing we've seen from the Titans, especially since Ryan Tannehill became the starter, is they have produced big plays on offense, on the ground and through the air. So it could, even if it's a case of they're down by 10 points in the third, fourth quarter, they could still get a big play from A.J. Brown or Jonnu or Corey Davis or something like that. So I don't think this is a situation where the Titans are going to go in and have the doors blown off. I just think that battle experience, I'll take the Patriots.
Yeah. Next game, Neil, move to Sunday, is Vikings at Saints. How did the Vikings win this game?
Kirk Cousins has to be perfect.
Yeah, they have to be aggressive. I think they have to have an aggressive passing game that allows Kirk to throw it downfield, and Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs catch 12 plus balls combined for 200 yards and 3 scores.
But I think it's another situation that if it becomes a situation where Dalvin Cook is out of the equation quickly, then I don't fancy their chances. I think as long as they can remain true to what they are, which is, outside zone, play action, take your shots, then they've got a chance. But we've seen what happens to Kirk Cousins in prime time spots, and he shrinks.
Yeah, I think they must be made up that this is the 1 o'clock Sunday game.
Yeah.
In that narrative, although it's a completely bizarre narrative, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But anyway,
well, it's another situation. We've talked about Dallas in win and you're in situations. Kirk Cousins has cracked the bed time and time again. You yourself know this better than most people.
Yeah, but I think it should also be noted that in those winning in situations, he was the quarterback of the Washington Redskins. Do you know, he wasn't quarterback of a good team. Do you know what I mean? Oh look, he got beat loads on Monday night. Yeah, he was playing for Washington against a team that was better than him. How many times was he expected to win any of them games?
Yeah, but he's the most important player for them. But you could argue that if they win, he probably shouldn't have been the most important player. If you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If they can keep Dalvin Cook involved, if they can get the pass game going with Diggs and Thielen, and Kirk Cousins can do no harm, then he will have been an MVP, even if his numbers won't suggest as much.
How do the Saints win, Neil?
They do what they do. If they can, keep feeding Michael Thomas, which I suspect they probably can. If they can keep, all the different playmakers involved, Jared Cook, who's come on leaps and bounds, if Alvin Kamara is able to show what he's shown in the last 2 games, I still don't think he's all the way back, but it's incredible what touchdowns will do for people's perceptions. And if defensively, if they can get their hands on Kirk Cousins and fluster him, then this is a situation that we've seen Kirk Cousins can trade blow for blow in a game that, a lot of points are being scored. But in a playoff, in the Superdome, against, this Saints team, nah.
Yeah, I think, I know you're saying about touchdowns, but I do like the idea of Kamara being involved a lot. I do think they look better when that's the case. They win. They just need to do what they do. The 13-3 and another 3 seed. I think that's only happened twice ever. So, it's Dave.
And you could argue that they are the 3rd seed. Are they the best team in the NFC? Yeah.
They are.
Record-wise, no.
They are, but the problem they've got is their second game is going to be like -20 in Green Bay. Yeah. That is a problem.
Don't forget as well the Latavius Murray revenge game.
Well, there's that as well. It's 7.5 to the Saints, Neil. Are you picking the Saints to smash that?
Yeah, I think this could actually. But we had the Minneapolis Miracle. I can't think of something quippy, but this could be an absolute massacre.
Yeah, it's weird, really, because 2 weeks ago I thought that the Vikings were going to win the AFC North, and now I think they're going to get blown out as the 5 seed.
You hate to see it.
As the 6 seed, sorry, it's just weird, but that's where we roll, I guess. Yeah, I expect the Saints to win by a few scores here, quite comfortably. Final game, Neil, your game. Is this Troy and is this Troy Aikman and Joe Buck? Is this the Fox game?
God, I hope not.
I think it might be. I don't know that for sure, actually. So, but there we go.
It probably will be because it's the NFC, isn't it?
Yeah, NFC on a Sunday. No, but they don't do it like that now, do they? They do it in a. You get the choice, so they do the choices. So I don't know, but Neil, let's not start with them. Let's start with the other team. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks, and how do they win the game?
They win the game by if they can establish the run, because we know that's what they want to do. We know that they have lost the main pieces of their running game. Chris Carson, Rashard Penny, they brought in Marshawn Lynch. They got Travis Homer, Doe, and Robert Turbin. Teams have not been very good at establishing the run against the Eagles, but Seahawks did have 150, 160 rushing yards against the Eagles 6 weeks ago. A lot of that was on one big play from the boy Penny. But if they can establish the run against the Eagles, that obviously makes the Eagles passing. It makes their defensive backfield a little bit more open because they do bite on play action. And then you can see Russell Wilson taking his shots downfield to DK Metcalf or Malik Turner or people like that. So I think if they can impose their will on the Eagles, Russell Wilson has never lost to the Eagles since 2012. Russell Wilson, of course, was going to be drafted by the Eagles, but then he went to Seattle instead, and he's making them pay for it. So if the Seahawks are able to be true to what they are, they can win. But their offensive line is a mess, and it's not been terrible all season. It's been passable, but they're losing too many pieces. They're losing their running backs, and they're a team that have shown that in spite of all this, they will not just put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands and say, screw it, you win for us.
I think, just so you know, this game is the NBC game. So this is Chris and Al.
Chris and Al. Okay, yeah, I can live with that.
So CBS, so Nansen and Romo are doing Pats, and then Troy and Joe are doing Saints Vikings.
It's a crying shame that none of these games have a TV presence of Kevin Harlan.
Yeah, but he's got to. I'm sure he's doing all 4 games simultaneously on the radio while also in space.
Yeah, as good as the cat call was, the way he shouts, "I'm calling both games."
Yeah,
that's the. As I say, I'm terribly sorry. I know you scored 43 touchdowns and have set all kinds of records, Lamar Jackson, but Kevin Harlan's the 2019 MVP.
Indeed. I think you said it, Neil, already. Like, whether it'll happen or not, a different matter. But you've got to make Russ the focal point if you're Seattle. Do you want to win games? Then put it in the hands of your best player. Exactly right. Neil, Kim, if we can keep this down to a solid 15 minutes, that'd be great. How do the Eagles win the game?
Eagles win the game offensively if they can keep Carson Wentz in the rhythm he's been in with his merry squad of players. Take the opponents out of the question. The last 4 games, what Carson Wentz has done has been phenomenal. The way that the offense has been called for him by Doug Peterson has been tremendous, and the execution and application of people that 6-7 weeks ago no one had ever heard of has been incredible as well. So if they can keep Carson Wentz in a rhythm, he is not the same quarterback as he was 6 weeks ago against Seattle when they were there for the taking and Eagles refused to take it. Defensively, the Eagles need to basically say, you're not running on us, and then hope Seattle keep trying. Because, bless him, the Seahawks center has, I think, among the shortest arms of any interior offensive lineman in the NFL. Him against Fletcher Cox is not fair. But if he can't cope with him, and the Seahawks have to do everything possible to try and help him, it opens up stuff for Brandon Graham, for Timmy Jernigan, Malcolm Jenkins. That can help so much because, as we've seen, the Eagles' cornerbacks are trash. Bless them. If you can just make their job easier and say, we don't have to worry about you, you're called the secondary because you're the second most important part of this defense. If you can just force Russell Wilson, when he gets a chance to actually pass, to make mistakes, which he doesn't make against the Eagles, then the Eagles win. But basically they need, say, the best players. They need Wentz to keep playing at the level he's been at, and they need Fletcher Cox to come to the party in a big way. That's how the Eagles win.
Where are we on Miles Sanders, Neil?
He put on Instagram, which appears to be the modern way of doing it now, saying, my rookie season isn't over. So he'll play. Mm-hmm. They obviously have Jordan Howard back. The Eagles did sign Elijah Holyfield. He's the real deal son.
He is the real deal son.
Fortunately, he ran a slower 40-yard dash time than Derek Barnett, which is a problem because one of them is a defensive end and one of them is a running back. Sanders will play, and I think the Seahawks can be had on the ground. It's just a question of how the Eagles are going to use the run game, because they've got Boston Scott as well, or the second coming of Dan Sproles, as he should be known when he's inducted into Canton in 15 years' time. That's Boston Scott, not Dan Sproles, of course. I just think the Eagles have got some decent playmakers, and I just think that if momentum is truly a thing, and it's not apparently, then the Eagles should win. But would anyone be stunned if they don't? No. Because you can't keep losing offensive linemen, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, cornerback. You can't keep losing them. And you just worry that is Brandon Brooks, to quote Damashek, the Jenga piece that finally brings this offense down.
Yeah. Seahawks are favoured by 1.5, Neil.
Of course the Seahawks are going to win. They're going to piss it. Don't even know what. It's no point playing it.
Outrageous. Philadelphia, Sunday night, 9 p.m. UK time. Yeah. In the olden days, Neil, which I think I enjoyed more, I think you would have lost this game because you used to lose all the time in playoff games, although you did win the first playoff game. But I look now and think, yeah, Eagles win this game because they know how to win this game. It will not be pretty. I think everyone needs to be prepared that Seattle against Philadelphia is not good looking, but they're going to win. Over-under's 45.
Oh, Seattle will get that by themselves.
Oh my God, I can't be dealing with this absolute bullshit. Okay, over-under. Over-under is going to be 20. It's going to be something like 28-24, so I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, you don't want me to do this, then your team should keep the Eagles out of the postseason, shouldn't they?
My team ain't doing shizzle in relation to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Neil, that's it for this week. Where can people catch you before we do next week's show? Which will be the best games of the season, as always.
Well, apart from the stinker when the Eagles win it, because no one will want to watch that.
Oh my God, shut up.
Just follow me on the Twitter at End13. Article I wrote for Ravenswire this week is about the 15 craziest records that Lamar Jackson broke in 2019. It's well worth a read, even if I do say so myself, which I do.
I am at Mindy7. Decided last week to pick all the games and win 11-5. Even pick Miami to cover the 16, not win, obviously. Done some other work in relation to Coach of the Year, offensive. Did I do offensive player of the year in the end? MVP. Shockingly enough, it was Lamar Jackson. Coach of the Year was John Harbaugh. I also thought that Nick Bosa was Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Kevin Harlan.
What a gene pool that is. Someone should be taking blood samples from all the Bosas.
The Bosas and the Watts.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable. The Watt and Bosa dad they should make a stud farm.
Yeah, awesome. On that note, enjoy 2 days of NFL football, playoff football indeed. We'll be back next week as these top guys are out.